another Student of the Gun Radio. I am your host, Paul Markle, and sitting across the table from me is Jared. Jared is our studio engineer. He is our web guy. He is our social media coordinator, and he's just cute, ladies. He just is. Jared, how are we doing over there on the other side of the board today?
Well, other than cute, I'm doing great.
Other than okay. Hey, Jared, are you wearing your Crossbreed holster?
I'm definitely wearing my Crossbreed holster.
I am wearing my Crossbreed holster, and I have a G23/19 in the holster right now. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's when you purchase a G23 and then get yourself a Lone Wolf conversion barrel so you can shoot 9mm in it. Why would you want to do that? Well, I tell you why you'll want to do that. Thank you very much to Glock for coming out with the Gen 4. What that did, when Glock came out with the Gen 4, law enforcement agencies all over the United States did what? They traded up. Right? They traded from their existing guns to the new Gen 4. What do they do with those old guns? Well, they become law enforcement trade-ins, and they're ridiculously inexpensive. I think we got what yours was, $299?
Yeah, I think mine was less than $300.
Yeah, Jared's police used G23 was $299. So you cannot beat that for a Glock pistol. Anyway, we both got our Crossbreeds on. We've got Glocks in them, and we're ready to rock and roll. And big news this week from our friends at Kel-Tec. Actually, yesterday I went over to my favorite gun shop in the world, Cook's Gun Shop in Biloxi, and I picked up the new RFB. That's right, the Kel-Tec Rifle Forward Ejecting Bullpup. For those of you that aren't familiar with this gun, it's crazy. Is it not, Jared?
It's awesome.
It's awesome. It is a .308 Winchester semi-automatic rifle that is in a bullpup configuration, but it is actually shorter than a standard M4 carbine. That's right. It's civilian legal. It's long enough to be legal. You don't need a tax stamp for it. But because it's built in the bullpup format, it is actually more compact than a standard M4 or your AR. And a lot of you lefties out there, you're like, I don't like bullpups because it injects into my face and I'm done with it. Ha-ha! What is RFB? Rifle Forward Ejecting. That's right. The spent cases eject forward out of an ejection tube. You have to see it to believe it. And you will be seeing it if you're watching Student of the Gun. And if you're not watching Student of the Gun TV, stop and ask yourself why. Why? Why aren't you? You can watch it online. You can watch it on Dish Network, channel 266. What time, Jared?
7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That's right, channel 266 on Dish Network at 7 p.m. on Sundays. If you want to see the RFB in action, just tune in to Student of the Gun. Now, it won't be this week, but it's going to be coming up here very soon. So check that out. Now, don't forget our friends at the Firearms Radio Network. Firearms Radio Network is continuously expanding. Congratulations to our new shows, Handgun Podcast. We've got Tactical Paradise. We've got our good friends over at Big and Wild Outdoors. Braden and Glenn, you want to check out their podcast. And of course, our bros Zeke and Left Hand at Talking Lead. Not talking zinc. Not talking bismuth, but talking lead. So check those guys out. We know you'll appreciate what they have to say. Now, Jared wanted to, before we get into our Student of the Week, we were talking off air a little bit about this, and being the social networking guru that he is over there, he had a suggestion that he wanted to put out for you guys, you listeners. So I will turn the microphone over to Jared and let him explain it to you.
All right. The Student of the Week question that we do every week, and we have you guys go to our Facebook and ask a question, and we pick a question, we give you a shirt and everything. We would like you guys, after you ask the question, at the end of your question, if you could put hashtag Student of the Week, and the hashtag is the number symbol or the pound sign, whatever you recognize it as. And what that does is it makes it easier for us. We can click on the hashtag and it'll come up with all the questions. It makes it easier for me to pick one, and it builds a new page so you guys can look at all the questions as well. So if you could do that for us, that would be great.
That would be great.
I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in on Saturday.
If you could just do that. Yeah, and Sunday too. So, all right. So in addition to you coming in on Saturday and Sunday, and that would be great, Jared is going to tell us, we're going to go ahead and jump right into our Student of the Week and get this ball rolling. So, Jared, tell us who our Student of the Week is and what their inquiry was.
Our student of the week is Roger, and he's from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. He says he still cannot find 22 or 9mm ammo. Is there any solution to the problem or an end in sight?
I guess that's probably something that's on the mind of all shooters is, why can't I find 22? And the ammo crisis is starting to ebb just a little bit. People can find 45 ACP, rifle calibers, 40. But the big ones that people are not able to find, it seems like what everyone's complaining about is I can't find 22 and I can't find 9mm or specifically 9mm ball training ammunition. Now, there's two solutions. Number one, you can be the guy that camps out at Academy Outdoors at 7 a.m. waiting for them to open the doors so you can go in and buy your one box per day. You could be one of those guys. And you can do that, and you can get, build up some slowly over time. But what I would suggest is, look, gun people, right? You hang with gun people. You have friends that are gun people, or you're a member of a gun club or a local range or what have you. Just put the word out and say, look, we brought it up. Was it episode 1, Jared? Yeah, I think it was episode 1. We called it Ammo Swap Saturdays. But what I would say is, hey, if you've got 45 ACP, or you've got 223, or you've got 308, or whatever you have, and look in your ammo locker. What can what could you do without, or what could you spare, or what do you have enough to trade? And put the word out there. Look, dudes, I've got 45 ACP. I'm willing to trade for 9mm. Or I've got 308. I got, a couple of boxes, 3-4 boxes of 308, and I'm looking for 22 LR. I bet you there's some guys out there that are sitting on 1, 2, 3,000 rounds of 22 that would probably love to trade it for some, 308 or 7mm or whatever, you name it. But the fact is you're going to have to be more diligent. Now, why aren't they making it? Folks, they're making it. They're making ammo as quick as possible. And people, it's funny, people write in, they complain on Facebook or they complain on the forums. They get on these gun forums like, they're not making it. They're stockpiling it. They're like that. And I ask these folks, if I see them in person, I ask them, I say, hey, if you walked into Walmart right now and you saw they had those bulk pack, 500 round bulk packs of 22 on the shelves, what would you do? Well, I'd buy it. You would? You wouldn't just let it sit there and call your neighbor and tell him to come get it? No, I'd buy it. I could afford the $15 or $20 or whatever, Well, yeah, no kidding. You and every one of your neighbors that owns a gun, every one of your relatives that owns a gun, everybody that owns guns, if you're a gun owner, unless you own just one pistol and you're an anomaly, what does everybody have? 22 rifle, right? And so it's not that they're not making it. It's not that they're not putting it on the shelves. It's that every single person that owns a 22 rifle or pistol, when they see it, they buy it immediately. It's not like it used to be where people always thought, well, if I need it, I'll get it whenever I need it. People aren't thinking like that anymore. There's no more of this, well, I'm sure I can get it again, eventually, so I'm not going to buy it today. If it's there, people are buying it today. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. I mean, unless you can convince Federal, Winchester, ATK and Remington and CCI and Horn, unless you can convince them to shut down all of their other centerfire ammunition and just exclusively make 22 LR, I don't see this changing anytime soon unless people just say, all right, I've got 5,000 rounds. That's enough. I don't need to buy anymore. But until then, it's not going to change. What I would do, if you really you need ammo, talk to your buddies. Say, hey, what do you have? Do you have 9? Do you have 22? I've got this. I've got 40. I got 45. I got 44. I got 38 special. Hey, if you got stuff that's really hard to find, like 380, 32, 25 ACP, because I can tell you this, when they're manufacturing ammo, things like 25 and 32 ACP are pretty low on the priorities on the manufacturing schedule. So they're not making a lot of that stuff because it's not in high demand. But that doesn't really help you if you've got a 32 and you need ammo. Jared, you wanted to weigh in. Go ahead and weigh in, brother.
I was going to ask you what they had something going on at one of the local stores around here in Biloxi that they would go in the mornings. I think they call it the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, that's the the Academy Outdoors Breakfast Club. That's what we were calling them. It's guys that would camp out every morning. They show up between 6 and 7, and they sit out there in their lawn chairs and they drink coffee and they jibber jabber about gun stuff or whatever. And they wait for them to unlock the doors so they can go in, get in line, and buy. Our local Academy Outdoors. All the really super popular calibers like 9, 223, 22, and so forth, they're limiting people to 1 box per customer per purchase. Now, does that mean you can't go outside, walk back in the store? I don't know if they're going to recognize you or not. You know, put some sunglasses on and a hat. Maybe they won't recognize you. Pay cash. But, yeah, the Academy Outdoors Breakfast Club, that's what we were calling them. Now, moving on, and thank you for that question, Roger. Moving on, you guys know that down here in the South, down here in free America, we are still fighting a battle. But unlike most states in the Union where the government is fighting against the citizens, what we have in Mississippi is we have the government is fighting for the citizens against the anti-gun people. And if you've been listening to Student of the Gun for the last few weeks, you know that was it June 30th, Jared? Yeah. On July 1st, we were set to become a legal open carry state, or essentially the legislature and the governor had signed a bill that affirms the Constitution of the state, saying that citizens can keep and bear arms, including bearing arms openly. Well, an activist judge up around Hattiesburg filed an injunction, and because we are a nation of laws, they had to stop and say, okay, this law isn't going to go into effect until we deal with it. Well, the Governor Phil Bryant and the pro-gun legislators in the Mississippi State House and Senate have filed a amicus curiae brief in support of House Bill 2 with the Mississippi Supreme Court. And our source for this is the NRA's ILA, Institute for Legislative Actions.org website. Essentially what it says is, you know, let me read to you guys. I think we've got it right here in the show notes. Yeah, I'm going to read you verbatim from the Mississippi State Constitution. And let's see if this is real simple. It says, Article 3, Section 12, right to bear arms is the title. Keep that in mind. The right of every citizen to keep and bear arms in defense of his home, person, or property, or in aid of the civil power when thereto legally summoned, shall not be called into question, but the legislator may regulate or forbid the carrying of concealed weapons. Pretty simple, right? Our founding fathers, they deliberately wrote the Constitution, they deliberately wrote the Bill of Rights in simple, easy to understand language versus the convoluted, drawn out, almost cryptic language of the laws today. You know, you speak to a lawyer, you speak to an attorney, you speak to someone in the legal system, and, you know, talk to a contract lawyer and tell me if you can read a contract. That's why you have to hire lawyers to read contracts, because they're the only ones that can weed through all the legalese. Well, the founding fathers knew better, and they put it in very simple, easy to understand language, not language that could only be understood by professional attorneys, but language that could be understood by every citizen. That was the entire purpose of the Bill of Rights, was to ensure the right of the citizen, not the lawyers and the legislators. So what we've got going on in Mississippi right now is we have two factions. We have the governor, and we have the majority of the legislators in the state who essentially, when they passed House Bill 2, and we talked about this, but just as a quick refresher, what they did is they took some arbitrary or confusing verbiage out of the concealed carry bill. We've had shall issue concealed carry here in Mississippi for a long time, but in the law, the words concealed or partially concealed were in the law, and they said that's confusing. All we're going to do is we're going to rewrite the bill. We're going to strip out the confusing language, run it back through, vote on it, and, you know, pass it. And it was actually a very simple process. It wasn't that complicated. They did it. The governor signed it. Bam, it's fixed. Let's go. Well, you'd think that they were issuing out nuclear hand grenades to people in Mississippi the way these anti-gun hippies are acting. They're encouraging businesses to put up signs and placards that say no weapons allowed. They're acting as if this is a new thing.
And I'm all for if you're a business and you don't want to let people with guns, whatever, but you're not going to get my business. And in addition to not getting my business, at least educate yourself on what your responsibility is if you don't allow people to bring firearms into your business.
Yeah, that's a big thing that a lot of these business owners, these guys are, they don't understand. All they know is what this politician or this chief of police is telling them. Oh, you need to put this sign up to keep people from bringing guns into your store. Well, first of all, it's disingenuous and it's childish and it's immature. Thinking that putting a red and white and black, plastic sign on your door is going to stop robbers and felons and murderers from coming into your store is ridiculous. It's childish. And if you were to ask them, intellectually honesty here, ask the manager of the local Quickie Mart, say, hey, do you believe that by putting that sign up that you're going to stop armed robbers from entering your business and robbing you? Do you believe that that is the case, that the sign will stop them? And unless they're a complete liar or, they're going to say, well, no, I understand that it won't stop them. Okay. Do you believe so you don't believe that your sign will stop criminals? So who's the sign for? Oh, for concealed carry people. Why? Because you believe concealed carry permit holders are criminals? Well, no. There you go. And they're like, and I'm not telling you to scream at these people, but if you have the opportunity to conduct a semi-reasonable conversation with them, ask them. Say, who's that sign directed against? Well, concealed carry people. Okay, so that's who you're worried about. If you own the 24-hour gas station or the Stop and Rob or the Quickie Mart, they call them a Stop and Rob for a reason. If you own that, your greatest concern of safety is the concealed carry permit holder, not the robber, not the crackhead, not the rapist, the felon. Those aren't the guys you're worried about. You're more worried about the guy who went and spent $150 on fees, fingerprint applications. He went and had his picture taken, had his print submitted to a background check, went through the mandatory state training, and got his concealed carry permit after 3 months. That is the guy who went through all of that due diligence. That's the person you're afraid of, not the crack addicted scumbag who's going to come in and shove a stolen gun in your face and take all your money. Okay, just so we're on the same sheet of music. Right now, as we record this, the governor and, like we said, the pro-gun legislators have submitted that to the Mississippi Supreme Court, and we're waiting for the judgment or the report back from the Supreme Court. And obviously, as soon as we hear something, we'll report back to you. Now, let's talk about when we talk about the 22 or the ammo shortage or the ammo shortage crisis. A lot of folks say, "Well, should I stop shooting?" And obviously, we don't believe you should just stop practicing. Don't train, don't practice, just sit on your ammo. That sitting on your ammo doesn't transfer skill up into your body. You need to actually get out. Shooting is a physical skill. Actually, it's a combined skill. It's a mental and a physical skill because it takes mental discipline to do it correctly all the time. So what are some things that you can do as a shooter, as a gun owning person in this time of limited, ammo or expensive ammo or what have you? Well, number one, you can dry fire or dry practice. Some people hate, I don't know why, but some people hate the term dry fire. They're like, you're not firing. Okay. If it makes you happy, I'll call it dry practice and we can move on with our lives. But if you dry fire, dry practice, what have you, it's essentially learning to work the machine. What you're doing is you're operating the handgun or the rifle for that matter. But you're doing it without live ammunition. Now, we know that guns are machines. They're just basic, simple machines, and they require a few things for you, the end user. If you're shooting a pistol or a rifle and you want to shoot it accurately, it requires that you actually take a moment to press the trigger without disturbing the sights. Think about that for a second. You need to press the trigger without disturbing the sights. You don't need live ammunition to practice that. Now, you do need live ammunition to practice recoil, riding the recoil or things of that nature. And of course, when you fire live ammunition, you get the result. The bullet hits where you wanted it to or where you didn't want it to, and you got to fix yourself. But learning the basic mechanics of a firearm through dry practice are very good. Now, here's the caveat or the big asterisk. You cannot just pick up a gun and start snapping the trigger and think that that's dry firing. A lot of people will think that they're dry firing or dry practicing, but they haven't trained. And because they haven't trained or they haven't been taught, they're just ingraining really, really bad habits like, mashing or snatching the trigger, dipping the front sight and so forth. So dry practice, if you've been trained to do it correctly, dry practice is a very, very valuable technique. Now, there's something you can add to dry practice, and that's laser training. There's a lot of companies out there right now, Laser Light and the 3M Corporation, the L3 Corporation, EOTech, MPRI does a what they call a beam hit product. And the beam hit essentially it's a battery operated cylinder with a laser module in it, and you slip it down into the barrel of your firearm, whether it's a pistol or a rifle, what have you. And when you press the trigger, it senses the primer strike, or it senses the firing pin strike, that is, and it emits a laser beam. And they have targets, both laser sight or laser light, that is, laser light and beam hit. They have reactive targets, or targets react to the red beam of the laser, and they flash and they beep and they so forth. And it is essentially dry fire. It's dry practice, but you get something. You get a stimulus. You get that red laser stimulus, and that helps you. And you can. I think these batteries will last thousands upon thousands of trigger presses. So, you get a unit like the beam hit unit, and I put one in our. If you guys watch the show, you'll see that I use a red 17R, a Glock 17R. It's a red training gun that has no firing pin, but essentially it functions and looks exactly like a Glock 17. Well, what you can do with that is you can slip a beam hit into there, the beam hit laser module, and practice with it. And it's compact enough. It actually sits all the way back into the muzzle and just protrudes a little bit, that you can do holster practice too. You can draw from a holster, engage the reactive target. It's a great way to keep up your skills on a limited ammo budget. Now, the last way, and this kind of goes back to our Academy Outdoors or our outdoor sporting goods store, is airsoft or soft air guns. And a lot of folks out there, you might be thinking, well, aren't those just toys, or those are for kids, or those weird airsofter people that dress up and shoot each other with them? They're not really training toys or practice. Well, what you can do is you can use these. A lot of the companies out there are making what they call one-to-one replicas. Essentially, the airsoft pistol is a one-to-one replica, whether it's a Beretta 92 or a Glock 17 or a Smith & Wesson M&P or the Sigma or what have you. And believe it or not, some of these things, they're not just toys. They're not junk. They're made of polymer and aluminum and a little bit of steel thrown in. You can get the spring-operated models, which are really cheap, but they require that you cock it each time to shoot each plastic BB. Or you can get CO2-powered versions. And we featured these actually this week as we record this on the Student of the Gun TV on episode, is it 26, Jared? Yeah, I think it's episode 26. He's nodding at me. We talked about some products that are available from Crossman Corporation, some airsoft products that are essentially one-to-one replicas of genuine firearms. Now, no, they don't go bang, and they don't move in your hand with the recoil of a normal gun, but they feel like a normal gun. And you can shoot these 6mm BBs for pennies a shot. They come in, buckets of thousands. So yeah, that is another way. And yeah, the problem with all this stuff is if you go at halfway, whether it's laser practice or dry fire or airsoft, if you approach it in kind of a halfway manner, you're not going to get as much out of it. But if you approach it in a dedicated manner, if you think, okay, I'm really going to focus I'm going to practice. I'm going to take what I've been trained previously, and I'm going to practice and apply it with these tools. You can get a lot out of it. So think about that. I understand, that ammo is tight, but you shouldn't, don't, instead of shooting, maybe you used to shoot 200-300 rounds a month in practice. Now you can only come up with about 100 rounds a month or 50 rounds a month in practice. Well, you can also dry practice. You can use laser trainers, and you can use airsoft guns to keep your level of skill up, because, hey, let's face it, shooting is a physical skill. It's a physical and a mental skill. And if you don't do it, you won't be anywhere near as good as you were when you were sharp. So keep up your skills, keep up your practice. You guys know, just because we don't pick your question as Student of the Week doesn't mean we don't pay attention to your letters, doesn't mean we don't pay attention to your comments. And we really appreciate your patience. We've been traveling a lot. It's August now, but during the month of July, we were on the road. Almost 3 weeks out of the month we were gone. And so it's tough to keep up with all the questions and the emails and the inquiries and the statements and all that. But we do our very, very best. And often when we get an email or we get a message on Facebook or something, people just mention things that gives us an idea for a topic, or it gives us an idea for something to talk about on the show. So even if you don't get picked as the Student of the Week, take heart, because something that you say or something that you send in might inspire us to talk about a certain subject. And we've talked previously about using a bright white light, about using flashlights. But, we believe that if you're going to be a responsible gun owner, if you're going to be a person that keeps a firearm for personal defense, you have to. This isn't I should or maybe I will. You have to have available to you in some form or fashion a bright white light. And I don't care what you buy. I don't care if you buy a Surefire or a Terralux or a Streamlight, or I really don't have any investment in that. But you need to have something, because what do human beings need to make decisions? What do you need? You need light. You need vision. Depending on who you talk to, 85 to 90% of all the information that you take in as a human being is taken in visually. And if it's dark, you can't take that information in either correctly or at all. And, I've been through a lot of training as a police officer. I've spent a lot of time in the dark as a Marine, as a cop, as a bodyguard, searching for things, searching for bad guys and so forth. And it's a different world when the sun goes down, because human beings want light. Your eyes crave light. They need that light. And, as we age, and this is something that is it's a reality of life. As you age, as the human body gets older, your eyeballs, your eyes they require more light than they did when you were younger to function properly or to function the same way. When I went through the Surefire low light instructors course a few years ago, our lead instructor there, William Murphy, he told us, he said, look, it's as simple as this. The eyes of a 40-year-old require 2 to 3 times as much light as the eyes of a 20-year-old. Comparing apples to apples. Let's say you don't have vision, problems or eye injuries or something like that. But just, by the time you're 40 years old, your eyes in the dark, you need 2 to 3 times more light than you did when you were 20. And that's just the way it is. And rather than just, kick the dog and be grumpy about it, what do? I had somebody say, well, what am I supposed to do? I have vision issues because I'm older. What am I supposed to do? Or how can I get around that? Or let's say without your glasses on at night, you're legally blind. Now, you're not blind, you're not Stevie Wonder blind, but you're legally blind, right? How do you overcome that? We don't want to be shooting at shadows, do we? No. We don't shoot at shadows. We don't shoot at sounds. That is a good way to end up penniless and in jail. So how do we compensate for that? Well, brothers and sisters, pour on the white light. And when I say pour it on, I don't mean go buy a $5 light from the tool and parts store. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is get yourself a high quality light. And like I said, I don't care who you get it from, but check the label for the word lumens, Lumens. That is, I know a lot of you guys, you older guys like me, you grew up on the term candle power. You know, when Maglite, would sell you a flashlight, or Kel-Lite, if you go way back. Some of you older guys, you're like, ha, he said Kel-Lite. I know what that is. And for you kids, Google it. But, pour on the light. Lumens is what we use to measure the entire output of the light itself. Candle power actually only measured the output of the brightest spot, or the brightest part of the light. And if you've ever looked at an old incandescent bulb light, let's say you turn it on, you shine it on the side of your house, or you shine it on a wall, and you can see that there's a really bright spot in the middle, and then it gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer until it gets all the way out to the edge. Well, yeah, the bright spot in the middle might be 100,000 candle power, or whatever it is. But all around, it is not. Modern flashlights, quality lights, whether they, like I said, come from, Terralux. We're really impressed by the Terralux TT1, aren't we, Jared? We
are, yes.
Yeah. Tell them about that Terralux TT1.
The Terralux TT1 it's a pretty bright flashlight. How many is it? 400 lumen or something like that?
It's pushing 400.
It's very bright, and it's got several different buttons on the tail cap, and the biggest button is the brightest setting. So worst case scenario, you pick it up and you need it right away. You hit the button and it's at the brightest setting.
Well, yeah, we don't want to confuse the audience. It doesn't have several buttons. It has two. It has one large activator button that you hit with your thumb, and then underneath that has a smaller button that you actually have to deliberately find, and that makes it strobe.
I misspoke there. I was thinking that, and when you click it on, you hit the smaller button, it changes the brightness of the.
Yeah, you can click on or off, but the Terralux light, and the great thing about these is the TT1 is a compact light. It uses a single CR123 lithium battery. So and it's compact enough that you can put it in a pocket. You can carry it on you all the time. It's not like trying to, you guys, you Maglite guys, the old 3, 4, 5 cell Maglites. They were like little mini aluminum baseball bats, essentially. And everyone's like, oh yeah, but you can use them as a self-defense tool. And yeah, I got that. We understand that. We all know cops that used to tune people up with their Maglites. I'm not going to say if I'm included in that present company, but the fact is they're heavy, they're large, they're bulky, and they're something that you're probably not going to actually have in your pocket or on your body when you need it. It's going to be one of those tools that you stage somewhere. Well, that doesn't do you any good if you're walking from the restaurant out to the parking lot with your wife or your husband one night, and some goons are over messing with your car, and you're like, hey, that really bright flashlight is inside the car that we can't get to. It doesn't help you out much, does it? Surefire makes a light called the Backup. It's very compact. And who's our other one? Bright Strike. Bright Strike makes a thin, what you might call pen or pencil light. It uses AAA batteries, but it's extremely well built and it's bright. My point is this. If you have vision issues, and if it's dark and you're older than 18, you're probably going to have a hard time seeing in the dark. How do you overcome that? Ladies and gentlemen, pour on the white light. And when I'm talking pour it on, when you buy that light, start out with a minimum of 200 lumens and work up from there. There are a lot of flashlights out there right now, and technology's just gone crazy. I remember 15 years ago, so when they were just coming out with LED lights, and they had the colored lights. You get greens and reds and ambers and all that stuff. But the white light technology, I guess we're pushing 20 years now. The white light technology wasn't quite there yet. Well, we're there now. We are there now. So get a bright flashlight like. What do we say? The Keltec lights, the CL43s and 42s are 400 lumen?
Yeah, they're 420.
Yeah, 420 lumens. That is a great way to overcome the handicap of night. If you bathe a bad guy in bright white light and he still keeps coming towards you, well, he's not a very bright guy, and he probably wants to harm you very badly if he's willing to go through that light to get to you. So what do you know? You know that you're going to have to do something quick, fast, and in a hurry to deal with that guy. So make sure, and a lot of these lights have clips. You can clip them, secure them to your bedside or nightstand or what have you, so that even in complete darkness, you can reach out and you can pick this thing up and use it. So there really is no excuse not to have one. These things don't cost thousands of dollars. The Terralux TT1 is a very high quality light, and you can go on Amazon right now and get them for less than $100. I think they're like $79.95 or something, and they're worth every penny. Now, just quick caveat. I know you guys are out there. Some of you, you're like, what? Did he say $79 for a flashlight? I said $79 for a flashlight that you're going to use to save your own life with. Not one you're going to keep in the drawer and use it when the power goes out so you can find candles. Folks, if you shoot at noises or sounds and you put a bullet into, or many bullets, into something or someone that shouldn't have had bullets in them, that $79 is going to be the smallest price you ever paid in your life. To get yourself out of jail and out of trouble, it's going to cost you thousands upon thousands of dollars if you have a bad shooting because you couldn't identify the potential threat. So, hey, live the life that you want to live, but the advice I'm giving you is based on 25 to 30 years worth of real world experience. So take it for what it's worth. Now, this next story, it came to us through the internet. And it's one of those deals where you just have to say to yourself, are you kidding me? Do we live in a complete and total nanny state? Are we adults, or are we a bunch of fully grown children that have to have our, noses wiped and our butts cleaned for us? Well, apparently in Baltimore, Maryland, a juvenile court official thinks that we are all ninnies and nincompoops and that parents are not able to raise children properly. And they have put forth an effort to crack. Now, here's the title of the story, folks, and this is from WBAL TV, Baltimore. Juvenile court official cracks down on toy gun sales. That's right. The juvenile master wants the legislators to act. Apparently, in Baltimore, Maryland, parents cannot be trusted to raise children. Children cannot be trusted to obey their parents. What we have to do is we need the court system and the legislators to crack down on toy gun sales. We can't allow toy gun sales because we know that kids who play with toy guns grow up to become mass murderers and thugs and criminals, right? Maybe. I'm just going to throw this out here as a hypothesis, Jared. Stop me if you think my hypothesis is skewed. Maybe if you raise your children right, if you teach your children right and wrong, if you take an active participation in the lives of your children, maybe it doesn't matter what they play with. Maybe they'll know the difference of right and wrong. Is that possible, Jared? Could that possibly happen?
It could if you actually put effort into it, yes.
Jared, my son, my child, have you committed any homicides or murders lately?
No, I have not.
Did you grow up playing with toy guns?
I've been playing with guns since I was, 5?
Since you were a little kid, you had little plastic guns and squirt guns and dart guns and little BB guns and stuff. You mean you didn't grow up and take a real gun and murder someone? That's crazy talk. You must not have been in. It's a good thing you weren't in Maryland, because if you were in Baltimore, Maryland, there would have been no hope for you.
Well, there are a lot of stupid people up there.
Well, yeah, that is true. Maybe the legislators need to, instead of working on banning toy guns, maybe they could do something like, I don't know, ban stupid people. Maybe they could ban juvenile court officials that think inanimate objects cause crime. No, but we couldn't do that, could we?
You're putting too much logical thought into that.
Too much thought into it. Can we hold people responsible for their own actions? Oh no! Whoa, Paul! The train just left the tracks. You just suggested that you hold human beings responsible for their own actions. We can't have any of that. We can't have that in the new world order, in the new utopia that we're in. We cannot allow people to be held responsible for their own actions. It has to be someone else. It has to be the evil toy. What do they like to talk about? Big oil and big pharmaceutical and big this when they're trying to demonize stuff. What do we got? What do we got here? We got
the big toy guns or something.
Big Mattel.
There you go. Oh, didn't you know that you could easily convert those into full
that's
automatic?
right.
Yeah.
I forgot. Calvin. Was it Calvin?
Yep.
It was Calvin, the ATF agent, who educated me via a YouTube video. A YouTube video of a news story. Calvin, was it Calvin in Seattle? He was out west. It was either Seattle or Portland in Washington. It was a port town. And the ATF, I'm sorry we don't have this up, but Jared just reminded me. The ATF seized a bunch of airsoft guns. That's right, they seized them. And they got ATF agent Calvin gave a briefing to the local news, and he told the local news anchor how easy it was to convert an airsoft gun to a fully automatic weapon. That's right, folks. Calvin, the ATF agent, thinks you can take a plastic airsoft gun and turn it into a fully operational machine gun.
And Calvin, the ATF agent, couldn't even figure out how to put the magazine in the right way.
Yeah, Calvin was having a hard time figuring out how to put the magazine into the gun. But, hey, we got to give Calvin a break. He probably wasn't trained in proper airsoft etiquette. He wasn't familiar with the airsoft weapon in his hand. So you give Calvin a break. Give Calvin a break, you know. And Calvin's he's keeping you safe by seizing airsoft guns at the ports so that they don't get onto our streets and little plastic BBs will be flying everywhere, and then we'll have anarchy, dogs and cats living together. Thank the Lord for people like Calvin that are keeping us safe every single day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Jared, when he does the show notes, obviously, some of you folks, you're not going to believe it. You're going to say, Paul's smoking a new brand of crack today, and there's no possible way in the United States of America that a juvenile court judge wants toy guns banned. That's just craziness. So what Jared's going to do for you is he's going to go ahead and put the link to the story up there so you can find it and read it yourself. You can share it with your neighbors and your friends. And with that, it's going to bring us right to the end of segment number 1 of this week's episode. But don't you change that dial. Don't change that channel, because what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break, and the break really is going to be how long does it take for you to reload the next segment on your iPad. But we'll come back. We're going to talk about whether or not the police have a duty to protect you as the citizen, and what do the courts think about that very subject. And then we're going to talk about our good friends up in Chicago, Illinois, in Cook County, and just see what they're up to up there. So stick with us. Come back for segment number 2.
And real quick before we leave, earlier when I was talking about the hashtagging on Facebook, I pinned a post to the top of Student of the Gun's page that gives you instructions on how to do that. So if you could do that for us, that would be great. Thank you.
Now that's Student of the Gun Radio, right, Jared?
Yeah, Student of the Gun Facebook.
Oh, the Student of the Gun Facebook. Okay, so check us out on Student of the Gun Facebook. You know how to do it.